Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination thrive. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair. Come on down and get your geek on gift at the Sci-Fi Center. We got almost everything a geek could want at the Sci-Fi Center. You name it, we got it. Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and everything in between at the Sci-Fi Center.
Yeah, R.I.P. Norm, otherwise known as George Wendt. I never saw him in anything else. I know he had a distinguished acting career. He was on things, he was in plays. But for those of us who grew up in the 80s, that was Norm. He could have been in Shakespeare. I would have known about it. That was Norm. He was in that same spot. He was in that same part of the bar. Cheers was one of the things that we watched as a family when I was growing up, to where there wasn't a generational humor that I didn't get. The old man watched Carson. I didn't get Carson. I didn't really start watching the Tonight Show till Leno came along. There was a lot of stuff that, during that era where it was aimed towards a certain generation. For somehow, some way, I got Cheers. I understood Cheers. Maybe it was because of the camaraderie. The opening song for Cheers is one of the greatest opening songs in TV history, where everyone knows your name, and the show fit that theme. 32 years ago, as of 3 minutes ago, it was actually last night, but I started the show at 11:55, so it's still the 20th. 32 years ago, today was the last airing of the last episode of Cheers. George Wendt dies. Norm dies on the day, the 32nd anniversary of the last airing of Cheers. One of the great shows that lasted from the mid 1980s all the way through early 1990. And like I said, he was iconic. He was, he wasn't the star of the show, but he was Norm. You knew who Norm was. I mean, Norm was parodied everywhere. I would go into a bar just to do fantasy football or something like that, and because I sat there all day, doing it, I was called Norm, even though I didn't drink alcohol. But anybody who sat at a bar in that same spot at any bar in the world or the United States was Norm, because that's what he did. He had his reserved seat. Even in Boston right now, there is a reserved seat for Norm, and they put flowers and a memorial on there today. So rest in peace, George Wendt. I mean, like I said, this is one of those ones where several generations are going to know who Norm was. I mean, I saw posts all day long on all my social media, RIP Norm. I mean, yeah, his name, obviously that wasn't his real name, but that's who he was to people. But yeah, that sucks. That sucks. That literally is somebody, from a show that I literally watched, even if it was just for the theme songs, if I didn't get the joke. So yeah, RIP George Wentz. He made the thumbnail today for all the wrong reasons, but hey, celebrate his life and celebrating the somewhat punctual appearance of Brad. Close enough, I guess. Okay. Tonight's show is brought to you by Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning that opens in theaters this
second or third best.
Friday. You can't blow up a read. I am obligated to read these without instructions. Stop it. All right. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is in theaters this Friday, May 23rd. Our lives are the sum of our choices. Tom Cruise is Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. So congratulations to our winners who entered in the online and the social media contest that I held over the last week. And for some of you who were able to come in and get your Mission Impossible posters, enjoy the movie tomorrow. I will not be at that movie. My schedule will not allow me to be there. It will, however, allow me to be on at AMC Town Square June 2nd for Ballerina. Me and my winners will be there watching that movie on Monday before the Friday of release. I know a loser who won't be there.
Yeah, and I know
I'm not going to say.
I know another loser who denies the greatness of Mission Impossible.
I'm not going to say any names. I don't want you guys to know who's going to take this L because I want to make sure there's spoilers everywhere for him. But he's drinking out of a pink cup right now. All right. Earlier today, I was on air for 39 minutes.
Yeah, I wasn't able to join that, unfortunately, because I had to be in the dojo at 3.
Yeah, I did it at that specific time because that was the window of time that Zack Snyder made the announcement. Thank you guys who were able to be there. The link to the charity is ongoing. That wasn't just a one-day thing. That we'll be running some new promotions to get us up to 2,000 sooner rather than later. That link is pinned to the top of the chat. I just felt that it was all the benchmarks, the anniversaries people throw out there. There's only 2 for me. There's only 2 that matter. The day we saw the movie, obviously, I mean, you can't get any bigger than that. But almost as important is the day we found out it was real. We had years of people telling us that it was not real, and then the man who made the movie with Superman sitting beside him with a bunch of people who, like us, had pretty much helped will this thing into existence, got to hear for the first time that it was real. So that I wanted to be on air at that specific time when that was released 5 years later. So I did not have Brad on with me because of schedule conflicts, but I wanted to get your thoughts on what this 5th anniversary means to you.
I mean, there's a lot of things about this we've said on here many times as we revisit the movie, which is very near and dear to our hearts. How we got there, everything tied into it with the AFSP work and the impact of the Zack Snyder's Justice League itself. I think for me, one of the things that kind of jumps out and I sort of ponder with a lot of this is the time period, and we got the announcement, and obviously it was during COVID, the world was going to hell around us, and this news was something that it was we got some good news in the middle of of this apocalypse we were living through at the time, and we jump ahead now 5 years, and a lot in my life has changed. I mean, I wasn't doing YouTube stuff at the time. I wasn't writing for comic book at the time.
Me either.
Fortress of Solitude. I was with Screener at the time, but also I wasn't. I wasn't part of the dojo I'm with right now, and looking back at that and all the everything that the lead up to the announcement, once in a while, I just look back on life and I think about the fact once you hit 30 or really once I think you even hit 25, just your perception of time just changes so much where it feels like you just blink and then a half decade's behind you already. And here we are with an example of exactly that. 5 years ago, it's I can remember where I was, what I was doing, what that whole day was like, getting that news. And the writing was on the wall, obviously. I think we all kind of went into that. Now, William said we were still
I didn't believe
we had in the back of our mind.
I didn't believe
there's
shit.
like this much of a chance that this might not be coming to pass.
Until Henry Cavill popped up, I didn't believe shit. I didn't believe anybody told me. I didn't believe I wasn't gonna buy it. I wasn't buying it. I don't care who told me, and there was some credible people that told me what was most likely going down that day. I didn't want to hear it, but I was gonna watch, and if it happened, it happened. But we had been led on a leash for so many years that it was just, to me, could have been just another letdown. It wasn't until I saw Henry Cavill pop up, I'm like, okay, this is going to be different than everything.
Yeah. Once he showed up, everybody, that was it. And this, of course, was during a watch party of Man of Steel that day. If I remember correctly, the movie was around the part of it was right when the finale with the Superman battling Zod was starting, and then we get this next window opens up, and then it's Henry, and nobody's paying attention to the movie at that point anymore. It's like, oh shit, something's about to go down, and of course it's been immortalized on YouTube. You can just play that announcement.
Yeah, I played it today.
Anytime. Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
And it was but yeah, that's something that really this whole thing is really, it's the kind of thing I look back on where it's pursuing being one of the people who was both advocating for and in a professional setting covering the the Snyder Cut campaign. This is something that was just a huge part of my life. That and the AFSP work, and it's something, the experience leading up to the announcement, in addition to the movie itself, is something that is just going to stay with me for as long as that's why this day, it's a holiday for people, for those of us who were on this journey this whole time. And like I said, you get to a certain point in life where you feel like you just blink, and then it's like, oh, that's another, there's huge, half decade just, in your rear view already. And it's like, where's the time go? But, with this came during a time when we're, dare I say that, this movie brought, not just for those of us who were, advocating for it so much, but, just for the world itself. The time we got this news was something when news like this was sorely needed for just for everybody.
1,000 people a day. That's when we started losing 1,000 people a day. We had the murder hornets were on the way. We had our favorite Orange Crazy Man doing his thing. He caught it later on. He almost died. We had George Floyd. We had everything. I was waiting for the Four Horsemen to open up the sky and just come down and say, you know what, we're gonna go back up into the sky, because what you guys are going through was worse than that. So, but yeah, I think the most important, and as I resonated today, was if this movie had been released the way it was supposed to be released, it was released right and hadn't been meddled with, I wouldn't know Film Junkie. I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know Chris Wrong. We probably would have maybe crossed paths, maybe, but probably not. So the one hand, I wish the movie had been made right. I wish a lot of people hadn't been put through the ringer for it. But at the same time, we got what we got when we got it, and I think we've done more good. There's nearly $20,000 more dollars from our end that's going to a good cause. I know other people have raised a lot of money. I know other people have formed unions and communities around each other to help them through things that they wouldn't have been there for, especially during a time like that when it came down to. So yeah, it sucks that the things got meddled with, but at the same time, I don't know if I would change anything, to be honest with you. I don't know if I would forsake what was gained from this to go back in time and say, you know what, let's just fix it.
Yeah, when you speaking personally, a big chunk. I was already freelancing with Kung Fu Kingdom. I was a pillar, but I wasn't freelancing. I was one of the OG writers, still am at KFK. But as far as expanding my journalism career, just beyond my old stomping grounds, that's really when this began. Was on that's when I hooked up with Stephen Colbert, and he said, hey, you ever thought about applying to Screen Rant? And I did, and the rest is history there. And I was starting writing with Screen Rant right when this was when we were hitting the, okay, we're hearing something about this just about every day now. In July, there's some kind of bombshell on Vero about here's something you didn't see. And and that was a real blessing for me, to be there on the ground floor of that, not just as a fan who was putting out the hashtags, doing the FSP donations, participating in a lot of the events, but also, then I'm like, I'm building a career out of this too, partially out of the fact that I'm writing about, it's such a big, such a big beat for me. And, of course, even now the subject matter still is. So, on a personal level, this was a big stepping stone for me in my career, in the fact that, this subject matter was a big part of my a lot of my beginnings in this. And yeah, it's something I definitely wouldn't want to change out of it.
All right, so there we go. We have, so like I said, there's only two of them in my opinion. I know a lot of the community is gathered around these other ones, but there's only two for me. There's 5/20/20, and there's 3/18/21. Those are the two that, the other ones will come and go and fade. You can't erase those two, because without those, you really don't. They're the culmination of everything else that came along. So happy birthday. Now we're on to the next day. Chappie, what are your thoughts about them actually documentary of Howard the Duck movie, and what they've already done that. Somebody already made one.
They've done a documentary in that horrible movie.
Yeah, are you saying that there's a new one? I have not heard a new one, but most of those people, some of the people aren't even alive anymore. Most of those people have moved on and gone throughout the cycles of their career. I guess I would, I'm not a big documentary guy. I don't think there's anything else I need to know about Howard the Duck that over the last nearly 40 years that, from seeing the movie in the theaters, that I need. I know it was a disaster. I know it was a bad decision. I don't need to know why it was I'm not a big behind the scenes guy. I'm not there for a reason, because I don't function in the capacity of a filmmaker, and I don't want to. If it's not a DVD, or a special presentation that's being presented to me, then that I'm okay with never seeing a documentary of why that movie went south, or any other movie went south. By the way, I'm just not big into that. I am not part of the filmmaking process. I am, most people are not, and most people cannot comprehend what it takes to make a movie. So us having that information would be as good as me having atomic information. What am I going to do with that? Nothing. So yeah, if they make it, I guess maybe I'll take a look at it. More than likely, no. But no, there's really, I don't know if any surprises that are going to come from that would mean anything. Thank you for the $5 super chat, though.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because of course we just had Wick is Pain come out, which is the whole John Wick franchise documentary, and that I greatly enjoyed.
Yeah, but that's not really the same thing, though.
It's not a tell-all on a disaster kind of thing. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, they're telling you why the movie went right, and they're giving it to you from their point of view. They want that information back there. I don't have to sit down with somebody and pry out information. Those are things that they want you to know, as far as, hey, this is the basis behind, this is how we got here. It would be the different thing, like a Howard the Duck, or I have no desire whatsoever to see behind the scenes of making of getting where we got to with the Snyder Cut. I have no desire to see.
Well, Aaron would.
Not at all. What is available to us is what we need, as far as I'm concerned. I don't need to hear about Ann Sarnoff. I don't need to hear about any conversations with them. I don't care. It has no bearing on the now. It has no bearing on the movie as far as how I perceive. And all it really does is add clutter and more weight to the movie. Whereas at some point it would be nice to start remembering that movie for being a great movie. I don't need to know any more that went on behind the scenes. Those people are gone. They're no longer with the company. It's not even relevant for anything going forward. At least from a fan point of view, I don't think we need it personally. And if it came out, I'm not going to be rushing to watch it. We lived it. We as fans lived the part that is relevant to us.
Yeah, by the way, I got the very appropriate shirt on today. The All the Gods shirt.
Yeah, I don't own any Zack Snyder Justice League shirts.
Really? So you can get that shirt when it dropped? Because that was, again, when he had the first Snyder Con, and when he put out this shirt and, confirmed like the 214 runtime, and, on camera said, yeah, my movie exists, it's just up them to release it. That's the point. And that was I think March, April of 2019. that's the point where it's like, okay, now this really kind of hit mainstream attention. That's where you had like big outlets saying, okay, this isn't like he's telling us this is legit. We got clues to this, so is this ever going to happen? And
yeah, now once the movie's been made, and I just, like I said, I don't need to know how the sausage is made. I'm not the chef, so that's just me. Final Saw Sinners, 5 out of 10 at best. I enjoyed the technical aspects. I don't know, all film is subjective, but I'm wondering if you wandered into the same theater. But did you look at the title and was it Sinners that you were seeing? I'm not sure where that came from. Let's see. Don't know. Okay, this is old. This is stuff that you guys said was while we were getting ready for the show. Hey, listen, man. Everybody's got the tortures that they like, and that's a torturous movie to watch. That's a torturous movie just to know they exist. I thought this movie was it. I mean, I like I said, everybody's different. You're the first person I've heard that had an issue with it, maybe, but like I said, it was your time, your money. I can agree with this, and like I said, no one needs to move after anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit and wait for the opportunity for resolution. And anybody who tells you that there's no chance is probably just some fan like us. None of us are qualified to tell anybody to do shit. None of us are qualified to tell anybody to move on. Nobody is qualified to tell someone something's never going to happen. If that's what you believe on a personal level, that's cool. But I wouldn't. Whenever I hear the word "never" entered, I usually look for people that I don't want to be around, because they're absolutists that don't have vision. And I'm not saying that to you, Joga, but every time I hear the word never, it's usually attached to people that don't have any vision and they don't have any patience. So no, I wouldn't recommend anybody to move past anything. I would just recommend people to sit back, wait for the right opportunity. And when it arrives, go, take it out. Oh Lord, Clint is influencing you. You're in trouble. Let's see. Yeah, and that's with anybody. When it comes to a reboot, like I said, by the way, going back to the off topic to the Buffy thing, we got to be better as upright walking human beings about the words we use, and that includes the people who produce the stuff. The proper word for Buffy is revival. That's an important term. Revival and reboot are different. So if you're doing something like whatever what he's doing with Ryan Coogler's doing with X-Files, if that is a continuation, then they need to call it a revival. If it's something blown up or brand new, then it needs to be a reimagination. If they're using Fox and Scully and just putting new actors on it and starting over again as a reboot, first of all, that's going to be dead on arrival. But B, you need to use the proper terminology. And I think that is going to be so important, because I don't care how popular and how good Ryan Coogler is. I don't care who you are. If you put reboot onto your project, you may as well pull down your pants and shit on it. Especially when you're talking about legacy things. And when you're talking about like Buffy, if Sarah Michelle Gellar is still on this planet, then you really be careful which R word you use. But yeah, no, a lot of people in general, Son Up, don't want to start over again because they feel like the time that they spent has been invalidated. That's why you don't want to use terms like that, because what you're telling that person that was with you for 4 or 5, 6, 7 years, that the time that your time doesn't mean anything. And that's a problem that DC had with their paper medium too. Every time they would do these reboots, they would do them intermittently. When people have bought into the story, they bought into certain writers, they bought into certain lineage, and then all of a sudden we get one guy who wants to blow everything up. So, everything that you bought, everything that you were into, your storyline just got blown up. And now that same company wants you to start over again and trust them that you're going to be in it for the long haul. And once you show your customer that you're willing just to, on a dime, throw everything out, it's really hard to trust you again. It's just really hard. And that's with any product. So I understand what you're saying, Sona. Let's see. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that a lot. I heard that a lot from people who actually make decisions. And, I never truly believed it. I didn't know how it was going to come to fruition. But like I said, we just never really do because of the situation of we don't know what opportunity is going to come out. Like I said, I'm never moving to Nome, Alaska, right? I'm never moving on. Nothing against the state, but it's cold there. I don't want to live at Barrow, Alaska, or whatever, top of the world, 30 days a night. Don't want to do that. It's cold. I have no use for it. All right. Right now, I'm at 12:25 on May 21st. When I tell you that I'm never moving to Nome, Alaska, I mean that. I'm telling the truth. But like what I always say, if somebody comes in with a suitcase full of money, with millions of dollars in that suitcase and the promise of more money, guess where we're going? Yep. Get the parka, get whatever I need to survive in the cold, and we're going, and it's going to be dark for 30 days of the year.
Anything's possible, as a certain Dark Knight has recently been on camera saying.
You never say never. I have found that only the dumb say never, because you box yourself into something and you never are open to opportunities. You don't, like I said, you don't know if the right money is on the table, if the right opportunity is on the table, if the right situation is on the table. Yeah, last week I said I wasn't going to dog sledding up north. That was before you came in the office with the money. That's where you came in the office with you gave me a mansion igloo or somewhere with an endless supply of Starbucks. Now the situation has changed. Was I a liar last week? No, I meant what I said last week. Shit changes. And that's why when people tell me, oh, this is never going to happen, they're never going to do that, Marvel's never going to do that, DC's never going to do that, I'm like, hey, first of all, we're fanboys. Us saying that a movie can't be made is like me navigating a satellite or a spacecraft from its landing to its orbit. I am not qualified. That's going to end in disaster. So you got to realize, look around you and who's saying this stuff, and understand and ask yourself, how qualified are these people? I include myself in that number. How qualified are the people around you to tell you something's never going to happen? Probably not. We're not, as a fandom, period, not qualified. We don't make most of us don't make those movies. We're not involved in the movie making process. We're never going to be involved in these secret meetings or these get-togethers or these golf trips. We're never going to be out there. We are on the other side of all that on a small screen. We're never guessing, and we're having fun at it. But when somebody says something's never going to happen and you should drop this or drop that, look at the qualifications of that person and then weigh what they said against that.
And by the way, I'll tack on that. It's like, why do you care what like other people are chasing after if you think it's impossible?
We did. And a lot of these guys, like I said, when it comes to these superhero things, whether it be super anything else, that's the easy answer. They've made these things so much a part of their identity that they don't know what to do without them. If you're not badgering another fan about anything, about something, what are you doing? And I saw it with old Trek fan. I see it with Star Trek fan. I see it with some of the Superman fans, not all of them, but a good significant amount. Their identity and the only way they can get the conversation going is going after somebody one way or another. And that without that, they don't have a conversation. So it's time to restructure the conversation. All right, the first half of Sinners is not a good drama. Okay, you know what? I can respect your opinion. I don't know what movie you watched from a personal standpoint. I don't know what movie you were watching. The first half of that movie is some of the best buildup of any horror movie I've seen. I've seen a lot of horror, but that's just me. A good thriller, but with some interesting stories told and vampire stuff happened. Once again, I will have to respectfully disagree with you. I'm not quite sure what movie. You sure you didn't walk in a fight night or something, or rescreening a fight? I don't know what movie you're watching for it, but like I said, that is your opinion. You paid your money. You went to go see it. I can't knock you for that opinion. I love that movie from beginning to end. There's very few movies that I really love from beginning to end because there are movies that have pacing issues and then things pick up. This movie had me engaged from the moment you meet Smoking Stack to all the way at the end. So hey, listen, I mean, that's That's what movies are. Somebody can go see the same movie and come out the other end of the tunnel. If people don't move on, they'll just that. Here's joking, and this is not just towards you. That's anybody. That's up to them. We're not talking about toddlers, going near a pool that need guidance. Every one of these people, one way or another, are grown-ass individuals. They set themselves up for whatever they want to. Whatever lessons they need to learn, they need to learn them on their own. They don't need assistance. They don't need anybody's counseling one way or another. These are grown-ass men and women, and if they want to carry this with them for the rest of their days or drop it tomorrow, it's up to them. It's up to them. That is not their disappointment is not your journey. If it's even disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, I also kind of related to that too. Excuse me, Paulin. I'm kind of curious. Yeah, this is probably that. I don't know that this may be like the one. Like, actually, yeah, go ahead and do say never. Ron Williams never like Howard the Duck. And why would he? I mean, it's a horrible movie.
It's a horrible movie, and like I said, it broke the trust between me and the old man. I was a year solid before I got to pick the movie. And Rain, listen, my hatred of the rain is the damage it brings. I live in the desert. I don't live in Portland. I don't live in the rainforest. I don't live in Seattle, Washington. Not yet. I don't live in places where it's lush greenery because of the rain. I live in the desert. I live in a place that was built for what it is. It is as advertised, right? I have been here since late 1993. And guess what? We were okay. We had enough rain to put into a thimble, and guess what? We found the way to get water. None of us died from dehydration. We found the way to take shower. We found the way for the last 30 some odd years to just be okay. However, the last couple years, though, we're starting to see some crazy stuff. Stuff that this city is not built for. The streets are not built for it here. Go look at our detention basins, like the two of them, in a city that's nearing 3 million, that's been around since the 40s. Why? I could see, well, why didn't you guys, have some vision from forethought? You know why? Because decade upon decade upon decade, things like the weather that shouldn't be changing in our lifetime, let's put the dinosaurs looking at the meteorite about to wipe us out, weren't on the menu. So don't hate the rain. Listen, if I was in Seattle, I love the rain. If I were in like Brazil or whatever, the rainforest, whatever, I don't care. Wherever they are, and it's built for it. When I hear that rat tat tapping on my roof, at my 1961 Khrushchev Kennedy era building, if I were somewhere else that was built for the rain, I would kick back, put my arm up, put my earphones on, and that. No, I got to go get buckets. And I can't even be as angry as, well, how come they just don't fix the roof? Once again, you're talking about a level of fixing that the city was never designed for. It's like those people in the Pacific Northwest that some cats in the Pacific Northwest, I don't know how you did it, because maybe I'm living down here, they don't even have air conditioning. Because it didn't get hot enough for them to need it. I talked to a buddy of mine. I'm like, hey, I had to order it because the places around me didn't even have air conditioners because nobody buys them around here. We're usually pretty good. But it reached 98. Where he lives is not designed for that. So now we're living in some true science fiction shit. So I'm pretty sure that guy doesn't have anything personal against the heat, but he'll hate it now, when his blood is boiling after decades of it just being okay. So, yeah, I think hate's a strong word. But like I said, if you give me the weather that I came here with and existed in for decades, we would be okay. We would be okay. But I'm telling you, man, listen, remember, the dinosaurs were looking up at that asteroid saying, oh, fuck. We're the dinosaurs, but it's a slow process. So, yeah. And you know what? Like I said, yes, I don't think I can unhate Howard the Duck. It's just a really awful movie. And it should be taught in schools, poor decision making with other people's money. That's what the class should be. And Howard the Duck should be on there. This is what happens. You disappear when you make movies like this. Remember, we had to go Wikipedia these people to find out where they are. These people left the country. They left the continental U.S. the day that this movie was released, rather than deal with the press about it. The only person part of the decision making that survived was George Lucas, because he's George Lucas. You can't touch him. So yeah, Howard the Duck. Wait, no. Joga, hold on. Joga, how old are you? What is he, 20, 21?
Yes, man.
If somebody, you're a grown-ass man.
Yeah, I mean, to put it bluntly, I really, unless I'm hurting
Hold on, let me finish this. You're a grown-ass man. If I can't ruin anything for you any more than you can ruin anything for me, guess what? When I don't want to enter the Superman discussion because all the trolls on there, I disengage. Why? Because I'm a grown-ass man who knows how to operate the mute button. Listen, you live in an open community where people have open topics and they have open opinions. If you can't deal with someone else's opinion about things, that's part of being grown. We're not in school where you can go scream to the teacher and say, they're making me mad, they're ruining my day, and then the teacher comes over and puts everybody in timeout. You have the ability and the prerogative as a grown-ass man to engage or not engage. You don't have to respond to anything. Guess what? You go look at my Twitter feed. See how much of that shit I engage in. Why? Because I'm a grown-ass man who's made a decision not to. Find the conversations that make you happy. If there's something that you run into that you need to get out of that. But most of the people who have this problem that you're saying have chosen to engage or have chosen not to go in a different direction. Or they've chosen the fact that, well, I can't take this person's opinion. That's too fucking bad. That's called being in the public. That's called being on the internet. No one person is ruining that for you. It is your individual. Every individual as a fan to decide what they want to engage with and what they do not want to engage with. And that's it. Only way somebody can ruin something for you is if you stick around. If you show up to a party and you don't smoke weed and you don't drink and you hang around, you stay at that party and you're miserable because it smells like weed and beer, whose fault is that? Unless you're locked in, you can walk out. You chose to engage in that. You chose to comment on that. You chose to reply to that. So, yeah, I can't really help you there, man.
Well,
sorry.
Well, and to tack on to that, let me pull it back up again. I mean, with respect, like, where was this attitude, 9 years ago when, I couldn't post on my own social media pages. I like BVS without getting inundated with, comments saying, no, it's terrible and you suck for liking it. So, all respect, but, unless I'm proactively seeking out conflict with people, looking forward to anything James Gunn is doing, I truthfully don't give a shit, if it bothers anybody, me advocating or pursuing anything Snyderverse related.
Mute him. Mute him. You on every social media platform, if Brad is spewing some shit that you don't want to hear or you don't think is inconsistent with your day, and anybody, mute him or scroll past them. What's so hard about this? Listen, these things I invented on the computer. I can't pull it up here now because it's got a short wire. I invented a trackball and a track wheel and then all kinds of controls to go up and down with. And then when you use them, you can scroll past that person that's making you mad. And I invented the X's on the sides of on the upper end of these screens and these conversations that when you don't want to be in that conversation anymore, or it just seems like it's a shit fest, you click on that S and those people go away. But if you stay there, if you reply, you engage, that is an adult thing to do. And the consequences that come with it. And that doesn't have to do with Snyder or Superman or anything. That's anything in life. That's anything in life. Once you choose to engage, only you can move about. You are not changing any of these things. If something that is in front of you that's bothering you, get yourself out of that situation for your own mental health. Because I see a lot of people doing a lot of damage to themselves, their psyche, and their mental health over these characters and these movies and these topics because they chose to stay in the stew instead of if the water's getting hot, let's be the frog that jumps out and not the one that boils. So there you go. That's all I really got to say about that. And that's not directed directly at Droga, because I'm only even commenting on this
Yeah.
because I know that
We're not picking on you, man.
yeah, that I hear this a lot, that so and so run. Now you heard it from me. We did a show on me thinking that Superman fans, some Superman fans, mainly the cinematic ones, are some of the worst fans of all fandom. What have I done? I've taken myself out of those conversations unless they are the ones that we engineer on this show, that I know that we can't, it ain't going to get crazy because we're just not crazy. Not to where I can just hear an echo chamber, but if you're going to come in and support or against something, have something to bring to it that's not the same old stuff. So, but conversations outside of this platform, mute. I muted Superman before and after the trade. I muted the word Superman. I muted crypto. Why? Because I didn't think anything good was coming from those conversations.
And he's the biggest advocate of crypto.
Yeah, I'm looking at the conversation. I'm like, I don't want to be in this conversation. This conversation is doing nothing for me. I made a grown-ass decision to get out of it. You know what? The Superman fans that are up James Gunn's ass, for before they even see the movie, and no matter how good the movies are, I'm not going to let them ruin it for me. I'm just not going to engage with them. The people that are just anti-James Gunn just because he's the guy in the hot seat right now, I disengage with them. I'm not going to let them bother me. I'm not going to let them affect what could be an enjoyable movie for me. This could be an enjoyable movie for me, and I'm not going to let these things to go on. And I recommend for anybody who's tired of hearing about Zack Snyder, listen. I don't hear anything that I don't want to on the internet. It's not like I'm in a crowded room and I can't get out. It's not like I'm in an elevator and somebody farts and I got to hold my breath until the door's open. I can leave these conversations. You guys can leave and engage. You're the complete controller of that.
Well, on that note, because I guess it's kind of related. It's not really a topic per se that you posted, but I don't know if you saw this article. It was about Warner Bros. Discovery. God, they just can't get out. They just can't get out of this hole they're in, financially or what have you. I'm not going to pull this up. So I don't know if you saw this. I think it was sort of like their stock situation. You gonna pull it up?
All right, you are not 40, but okay.
You are not 40, dude. Actually, it's interesting you should mention that too, because when I went into the school today, into the dojo, one of the newer guys, he asked me how old I was, or asked me what year I was born. I said 87. And he's like, "You're born?" And I said, "Well, how?" I read there. I was like, I asked, "How old do you think I was?" And I had people like ranging from like 25 to 32, and I've had other people tell me I look about 30 even. So it's kind of nice that people when they look at me, and maybe I don't know, maybe my voice helps with it too. But people look at me, they're off. They underestimate my age by 8 to 13 years. So I guess it's kind of nice. I can fly under the radar age wise. Kind of enjoy that. But anyway, going up here. So S&P downgrades Warner Bros. Discovery to junk status on weak credit metrics that would get worse if company splits. So now we of course been talking about the whole idea about them splitting or what have you. I'm going to read off some of this. S&P downgraded Warner Bros. Discovery to a BB plus amid continued revenue and cash flow declines in its linear TV operations. Anything BB plus and below is junk bond status for the giant ratings agency.
That's not good.
It reaffirmed its negative outlook. It also said that from a credit perspective, it's not a fan of a possible WBD split, teased by CEO David Zaslav last week after an internal reorganization split the company into two divisions, streaming and studios, and global linear networks this month. Separation would be a credit negative, S&P said. Linear woes saw S&P lower its forecast for earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization for 2025, and you're going to translate all this in a minute here when I finish up. Yeah. For 2025 and 2026 to about $9 billion for the next 3 years. That translates into expected leverage of 4.3 times at the end of 2025 and 3.9 times in 2026, heading to the right direction, but still significantly above the agency's 3.5 leverage threshold for the rating. S&P sees leverage remaining above 3.5 until 2027. Leverage is a ratio indicating the amount of debt compared to assets or equity. Okay, so before we go any further, William is going to translate all that for us.
All right, they're not generating enough revenue to offset the debt. They're not generating. They don't have enough valuable assets that are currently being properly utilized to offset the debt that it was inherited by the company and the interest that debt incurs. So if you have a stock, what makes a stock junk is when so much of the dollar has to go into trying to pay down a debt. So if you got $1, every dollar and 60 cents, you get 60 cents that comes into the company and 40 cents that goes into trying to maintain even just the interest or drive down the debt. That's a problem. And there's nothing, they're not generating revenue at the pace that they need to make that debt either manageable or to make it to where that debt is not so unattractive to where people will buy into the company. I'll give you a contrast. Netflix routinely runs about $12 billion in the debt, but Netflix pulls in so much revenue that the people who own their debt and have that debt out there are to the point where it's no real advantage for them to cash out. They're making the money off the dividends and the interest at the rate that Netflix is able to pay them back. That's why Netflix debt doesn't grow. It's not good to run a company in debt, but when you're generating as much as Netflix is per week, per month, per year, they can operate. That's why Netflix is able to spend over what they bring in sometimes, simply because they know that where the revenue is coming from. Now, with the problem with HBO and Warner Brothers is, despite how this topic aside and how we feel about certain characters being utilized aside, what we're doing with James Gunn and what we're doing with DCU is, I'm not going to say too little, too late, because it obviously can still happen. It's too little, too late in regards to what these guys are talking about. For us as fans, we're just going to watch the stuff as it comes out. But when you have a certain sector of your company like IPs, they aren't using their IPs in the volume, in the manner that they should be in order to make the math work. That's why when I say, you can use Earl Swirls and you can use other things, I'm talking about the maximizing of every IP that they have that can earn them money. If you are spending a certain amount of money to get a result as the complete sole proprietor of the IP, that means your profit is diminishing, and that means your volume versus your debt is diminishing. But if you license that out to somebody else for a flat fee, and you take on residuals, you take on licensing fees, you take on the distribution, you do those type of things, then your profile is less and your profit margin is higher and your volume is higher, because that allows you to go do other things at a rate that allows you to at least show people that are investing in you. You don't have to eat up all the debt all in with one home run. It's never going to happen. But you're asking people to buy your stock when they're not seeing you do things that can make you the kind of money fast enough, which means it's going to be a drag on your stock. So if I buy your stock at 10 and it hovers at 11 forever, that doesn't do me any good. I can be putting that money somewhere else. That becomes a junk stock. So what I said 2 years ago was, if you're going to have James Gunn do his thing, that's great. Maximize that potential. But do not, under any circumstances, leave any other things off the table when it comes to, if somebody with deep pockets says, I want to use this IP, we'll take this liability from you. You keep certain distribution and you get percentages of everything else. That makes it 100% profit. So you do 6 or 7 things like that are 100% profit. Yeah, mathematically, it's not going to clean up all your debt, but people who are buying your stock are seeing that you're turning this thing around. They know you bought into a company that was $40-some billion in debt. They understand that. But if you're doing things that are making money at the rate that the debt exists, that brings confidence in your stock. I'm going to buy your stock if I see you doing the DCU, and this is just, lame term, see you doing the DCU, and I see you talking to a fucking Danny Villeneuve or anybody like this about this project here. Now, fanboys are going to be like, well, you're going to confuse people, and you got to let James Gunn cook. None of those people have the type of money involved in this as these people do. We're talking purely on using your highest profile IPs to generate money quicker than your debt is hurting your dollar. And he said that these are our pillars. I mean, what, they have Harry Potter, they have a couple other things, but in order to make it to where I'm going to buy your stock and think it's going to go anywhere, you need to be operating on all cylinders. Every version of DC needs to be exploited right now. Now they're kind of getting there with Scott Snyder and what they're doing Absolute DC, and that's why I say Absolute DC needs to be the blueprint for how the DC IP runs throughout Warner Brothers, because it needs to be versatile. You need to be making money with what James Gunn's doing, but you need to be making money with what other creators are doing. And this whole confusion thing, what's confusing? Why your stock is like at tanking after 2 years of running the company. So, they need to organize the company to where people understand the variances and differences, and then allows them to maximize those IPs. Amazon, take certain IPs, you run with them. We get the distribution if it goes anywhere else. We get the toy distribution and we make that money. That's 100% profit. And that's another thing is investors want to see that you're making smart decisions. They don't want to see that you're spending so much on something and getting a small return on it. Even if it's even if it's a small thing, and they want to see that if you did do something like that, so you spent $5 million on a movie and you made $25 million. In order for that to work for them, you need to do that 10, 20, 15 times. They need to see you a sense of urgency there. And it just hasn't been that way with Warner Brothers since they made this merger. Everything is being put into the bags of what James Gunn is doing. And that's great for James Gunn and the DCU. But these IPs should be diverse in other places, making money while he's doing his thing. And that's what investors are seeing. They're just seeing that there's just not enough, revenue coming into this company.
Well, and now to kind of tie it back to everything with James Gunn, and this is because it's kind of to sort of extrapolate, I guess, on everything you said there. And Aaron has a good one here. Let me pull this up. Come up. Simon Sarah Business Edition, love it in the economic education.
Well, and I'm trying to explain it into a way that I that's the stuff I have to use on a daily basis. Is like I said, if I have a debt that I'm trying to incur, so if I have a loan out and I'm paying back that loan smaller and I'm trying to renegotiate that loan, at the same time I'm trying to get people to invest in the company, I need to show them that I'm making profit at a volume that at some point they're going to get their money back. That's what stock is. It's faith in the company. So it's a tough one.
Yes, stockholders, they're not in to break even, and there's none. So, but to kind of tie it back to with James Gunn, everything that's coming up with the DCU, and you're talking about, they need to really pull the pin in the grenade on everything. They need to be like throwing as much DC out at the consumer as they can, and that's where to kind of, I don't know if this is playing devil's advocate is the right word, but this is where, like the whole thing with like the Elseworlds and Pocket Universe stuff that is alluded to in Superman and maybe expounded upon in Peacemaker season 2. Is that maybe, and this is without knowing whatever like kind of business conversations they have behind the scenes, is that potentially a signal that that they have, like they're thinking along those lines, and that's going to be what's going to facilitate all of that?
I don't know. It's a signal that James Gunn is thinking, maybe thinking along those lines, but until I see what they actually do, I don't have a clue. Because to be honest with you, if that's where they're coming with it, then they should have really been doing this from the moment they got down. Sorry, I know this sounds kind of boring to you guys, but at the same time, it's sort of tangled up into the content. I try not to spend too much time on it. Superman has to be profitable. Superman doesn't need to hit $1 billion to go over $1 billion.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't at all for that particular movie, for that particular franchise. But when you're talking about how you're using your assets at a company, for me, we shouldn't be huddled around, this movie with these type of expectations on a movie, one way or another, any one movie. There should be a multi-dimensional aspect to this company, to where if the DCU is creeping along where it needs to get with the movies that are coming out, but we're doing things at that same pace other way with the comic books and the video games and the cartoons and everything else. If we're doing things that make our brand identifiable and relatable, not just this one movie and the string of movies, then that's what I think investors were looking. Because if you look at the Marvel universe, the way they go, first of all, it's not their financial base where it is movies are for Warner Brothers, but at the same time, there is length and diversity and levels of what they do. Any successful company is going to have more than one ways to make money. No, I don't know too many successful companies that put all their eggs in one basket and hope that, this is going to do. Too much is riding. You don't want to ever put yourself where so much is riding on any one thing, because then what's the backup plan?
Yeah, well, I got an article about this recently. And yeah, this is where I go back and say, it's like, I think they were starting to go down the road, the right path. Everything you're saying right there when they started with DC fandom, like that for me is like, oh man, that was, had they kept up with that, it's like, who knows where it'd be right now? But
nowhere. The problem is that came from bad management. As good as Steven for that came from bad management and was never going to go anywhere. As collectively, those people, and individually, I don't know them, never met them, don't have anything personal against any of them, but collectively, that was bad management, and they didn't know, they weren't the people for those positions, and that hurt. That set you back a long time. But once again, when you're talking about, okay, we got James Gunn things going on here, but how am I making a profit? See, right now, James Gunn's Superman.
And Aaron says HBO Max, which is now finally called HBO Max again, only just came out in Australia, which that's like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, that's why Greenblatt got let go. But when you look at about when you're looking at their situation, the fanboy hat has to come off. The fanboy hat has to come off because you're talking about real money now. You're talking about people's stocks and what people invest in, and it doesn't. Like I said, it's wonderful to want James Gunn to be successful and you want the DCU to be successful, but for me, the viability of some of your most popular IPs, in my opinion, this is my opinion, can't rely on that. I need diversity with those IPs. I need those IPs to be able to compete on a different level with maybe an audience that you're. So if James Gunn nails an audience and we have that audience that's going to come see every DCU movie, and we got those, but we have another audience over there that may be into these characters, I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck what fanboy says and what the let them cook and the confusion things. If there's an opportunity to exploit the IPs financially, you got to do it, and I think that's something that Warner Brothers and DC has not done, and it's sad because it is inherent within the DC universe to have diversity amongst same and like characters. It's always been there for 60 years now, so that's what I think. And if I'm an investor, I'm like, okay, great, you're swinging for the fences with James Gunn in his universe. What else is there? And right now, this whole article leads to the fact that there's nothing else. They have not diversified themselves to bring in the type of revenue that they could be bringing in by using these assets properly.
Yeah, well, we're going to read some more of it here. Debt has been the company's bugaboo. I've never heard that word before. Since Discovery acquired Warner Media 3 years ago, despite paying down billions, it's still a heavy lift. On linear specifically, S&P forecasts that EBITDA at Global Networks will drop 20% to $6.5 billion due to accelerated revenue declines and elevated content costs for newly acquired sports rights content, coupled with its last year of NBA rights in 2025.
That's a problem.
Yes,
that
is
a problem. Losing that was a problem because we even know the and we don't need to read the rest of this because I think it's actually confusing me now.
Okay.
As the cable market shrinks and everybody's going to streaming and everybody's going to these other outlets, the one thing that keeps you is the brand loyalty that things that are there. I'm never leaving HBO anything as long as Game of Thrones in there. I am never leaving as long as there are brand name legacy things that they continue to put out. I'm never leaving. But here's the thing: when it comes to TNT and TBS, even though they're shrinking markets, they're all tied to HBO Max. They're all tied to HBO. And the same thing that they looked at when it came to AEW, as far as putting them and making sure that they were on cable TV, free TV, but also on the streaming service simultaneously, is the same vision that they needed to have when they were negotiating for the NBA rights. That's a lot of revenue money. There's a reason why once they relinquished their rights to bid on it, be the first bidders, there's a reason why people outbid the shit out of them. Really smart people realize that when David Zaslav said, I don't think we don't necessarily need the NBA, those guys' ears perked up and they say, what? And they went and they outbid, and he put himself in a atmosphere that he was never. Warner Brothers with their situation was never going to outbid NBC Universal. They were never going to outbid Amazon, and now that's ad revenue. This is all the only way the linear TV stays open is ratings and ad revenue, and you just gave up a huge demographic for and got really nothing for it. Really, they got a couple of specials and stuff I guess that are going on, but nowhere near the volume that they were. If you have live sports, listen, you guys, you're watching a show. If you are running a network, if you're running a studio or a communication company, and you got live sports, keep it. It's that simple. The only reason these rights shift is because massive amounts of money get thrown out there to outbid. The reason why NBC is not on NBA because ABC with ESPN and the Disney company outbid NBC, not because NBC wanted to give it up, because they outbid them. The reason why certain football networks or certain footballs on certain networks on certain days of the week, the reason why Amazon, they've outbid. These people didn't willingly give up shit. They got their shit taken by people with bigger money. And there's a reason why Amazon is showing you a Thursday game of the week. That shit used to be on TV. Amazon's doing it now. Amazon laid down a bunch of money. There's a reason why Peacock is showing Bills versus the Dolphins and getting crazy numbers of it. They paid a crap load of money for that. They fought to get those rights back from him. There's a reason. If you have live sports, keep it, even if it ain't real. You know how much Tony Khan cashed in. Tony Khan cashed in on AEW. Because it may not be real, but it's live. And live stuff that's what these networks are going for. That's what keeps you in these areas. Like I said, people are cutting cable, they're cutting the cord, but they're still watching these associated networks. You may not be watching TBS, but you're watching HBO Max. NHL is not even the top of the major sports. That's one of the things that HBO and Warner Brothers did do right by. They did get those rights because it was the last ones left. You have live sports on your network, you need to keep them, and you don't need to be going in saying we don't need. So listen. If I got an audience for fucking cockfighting, and I got people, and I don't care what it is, if whatever it is, rugby, I don't care, even if it's a sport, tractor, dude, they show tractor racing at 2 or 3 o'clock. If you got an audience for it, a built-in audience for it, of people who will come watch it, and it's live, keep it. And they learned the hard way.
And coming back to Aaron's point too, let me pull her.
CW real quick. CW was always dead, but look at the smartest thing that the CW did was get wrestling on the CW. Now look at where they're at with their ratings. So,
well, like what ratings? I mean, they're.
It's better. It's the best that they've had. They have WWE now.
After Superman and Lois ended, I have not watched anything CW related.
You were never their target demographic. And to be honest with you, their superhero shows were never their target. They should have never been their target demographic. They should have been CW. Should have been on the live sports or some live sports bandwagon, even if it's just wrestling. And now they got wrestling, and now it's increased their profile.
Well, anyway, going back to Aaron's point here about HBO. Well, I mean, yeah, the rollout was definitely not handled well. I mean, we're talking about 5 years ago with the Snyder Cut announcement, but also 5 years ago with HBO Max first starts kicking off, and that's that day we got the news. I subscribed. Exactly. A lot of other people did, but with the rollout now, also the name change to Max and back to HBO Max. I'm kind of wondering does that everything that's in this article, does that factor into any of that at all?
Well, yeah, because it's Brett. They surrendered value for no reason. The word HBO has so much value and prestige to it that it literally adds value to your programming. The Last of Us is an HBO show. Why would you surrender your prestige with that on your app that you're trying to push globally? At a time where people are cutting cable, they're not necessarily abandoning HBO shows. There are a lot of people I know that don't have HBO linear anymore, but they're watching House of the Dragon as soon as it airs because they got HBO Max. So why would you? You need to bring back the value that you surrendered. You know,
I forget who I saw. I forget who I saw said this, but it was something on the effect of the name change back to HBO Max. It's like it's Zaslav and WB taking like a walk of shame or something.
Well, yeah, because it was dumb, and like I said, you got to give them some allowances because they were running Pimple Popper. Now they're running the world's oldest studio with cable companies involved in it. So they, be honest with you, and we've gone over this. I don't think these guys really understood the weight of what they were purchasing. I really don't think they did. I think they could look if they could look 3 years into the future. I don't know if you make that purchase for WB. To be honest with you.
Well, a couple things I'm gonna read off here at the end of it. The agency noted it has not factored a separation of the company into its current rating, but that a move would be a credit negative. Comcast is in the process of splitting its cable networks. Zaslav and CFO Gunnar, I can't even pronounce that name, both emphasized last week that WBD has no specific plan at the moment to follow suit. While we are not aware that WBD has made a decision on a potential split of the company, and of course we were talking about that a couple weeks ago, a separation would likely pressure ratings because it would weaken our view on the individual businesses, particularly global linear networks company, due to ongoing secular pressure in the linear TV ecosystem, S&P said. So, William, translation?
All right. So, see what the reason why Universal and Comcast are doing it is because they're doing it to respond to the shrinking market. Like Comcast Cable, all these things, they're doing it so that the shrinking market doesn't hurt their overall product. So spinning off CNBC or NBC, moving those to different things and making their more valuable things because they see what's coming as far as that goes. And those assets will be valuable to someone else. But the way I see it is Warner Brothers is doing this so that they can shift their debt load and profitability around. And the two reasons are why one would work for them with Comcast and the other ones. You're basically trying to say, I have this chicken that has a lot of dead weight, but I'm going to cut it up. But you're it's a shell game. You're basically going to create stock. You're creating 2 or 3 new companies, right? But now those 2 other companies have the debt load, so those ratings are going to go down. That's when they say it's going to be high. They're going to have low ratings because you're cutting out the things that were hurting you. So who is going to invest into that unless somebody purchases it outright? But if somebody could purchase these things outright, they would be done. If they wanted Warner Brothers, somebody would have probably bought the company as a whole. So with Universal, the way I see it with Universal and Comcast, they're doing it because they see the value decreasing. They're not hemorrhaging like Warner Brothers is. They see, okay, we see less and less value in these services. We may as well spin these off and have somebody else take them over. Whereas I see Warner Brothers doing it because of the fact that the debt is hurting the company as a whole, and they want to break it up so that the operation, they want to pick and choose which one's going to draw us the most profit and basically dedicate our operation resources to them. One of them's doing it because they see where the market's going. The other one's doing it because of debt. At least that's the way I understand it. So, he could, but I don't know. Why would you? I don't think. I don't know. If you're splitting these companies up because you're losing your audience, I mean, no, I'd probably be better off if you bought HBO Max. All right. I have not been paying attention to Fallout, the season 2 yet. I haven't seen anything for it. Yeah, Mad Max. Yeah, we covered that. We covered that right at the beginning of the.
By the way, Max, what do you think of my Feral Kid theory?
No, that's Max from. I think that's a movie. Yeah, Maniac.
Yeah, no, but really, because you're really. What do you think of my Feral Kid theory?
Anyway, what made WB lose money? Lack of DVD? No, lack of people on cable. They have a streaming element that's basically cannibalizing. The people are leaving. They have streaming services and they're watching what they want to watch where they want to watch it, and they're not paying the cable bill every month. And if they're not paying the cable bill, a lot of these cable companies that they buy into and the package, if your package is, If the people who are reviewing your package is shrinking, then those cable companies, that revenue is dropping. You get a share of that, and the revenue is dropping. And then some of these companies wholly own cable companies themselves, and people, they're losing people from there. So it's just that the way we view entertainment is changing, and these guys are making adjustment. But not only is it changing, but you have Warner Brothers that is that Warner Brothers Discovery was created with that. So that's a tough one. So wouldn't it be cheaper for WB to invest in network television like at WB? Well, we have that. We literally have that right now. And they're trying to get rid of it when the CW put their shows on there in live sports. No, because, okay, and here's another thing. The preference of the revenue from streaming is consistent. I mean, you don't have to rely on necessarily ratings per episode or per thing like that, where you have a subscriber who's paying 16, 17 bucks no matter what. And when you do the multiplication of that per month, as long as you can either grow that viewership or maintain it, you should be fine. It's a lot harder to gauge that when it's coming to linear TV and normal TV, because of the way people watch TV is so split up. So, but when you have them as a subscriber, your main priority now is to keep them there month after month after month. And that's a lot easier to consolidate your subscriber than it is to try to farm out different shows when you can just take those shows and put them on your streaming service. So, all right. So now we're going to go into this damn Predator thing. I'm a day late because I was covering other shit. So let's go here. Another brutal. Let me get rid of the.
I heard about. I'd seen it. This is gonna be my first reaction.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get Chuck Cage's thing off there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Be more predatorness.
All right. Let's get demonetized.
Let's get Williamed. I bratted William.
My son, tell me why we fight.
Because our enemy still lives.
You all have traveled far and missed the warmth of home. But tonight, think of only one thing. Killing the monster.
You're not hearing me. There's something else up in the sky. And it's not human.
I pray you bloody your spear tonight. You are ready now. There's only one way to kill it. We must fight together.
Here we go. What happens if we survive?
Well, I'm down. That looks awesome.
June 6th, which is not that far away. June 6th is typically.
Ooh, man, I'm gonna get a John Wick movie and a Predator movie the same day. Fucking A.
Well, I would be doing it on the same day, but I will have already seen.
Oh, shut up!
Already this.
Stop it.
That looks amazing. Listen, I am so happy for the Predator franchise to survive that god awful movie that almost killed the franchise. And
yeah,
to be able to,
William and I are totally in simpatico on the Predator. It's like that is, for my money, that is the worst of the Alien and Predator franchises. Is the Predator.
Why would they need to cancel and film it? Not everything needs to be.
Cancel.
There are different formats that work.
Cancel what and film it?
I think he's saying cancel this cartoon and film it.
Well, it's already made. Of course. Yeah, why are they canceling? Come on.
Not everything. I disagree. I don't think every story needs to be told live action. Some people choose animation to tell their story as default. Some people that is how they want to. Some people don't like the limitations that film gives them. I mean, that's it's different. It's a variety.
Yeah, I agree, Aaron. I am looking forward to this. I am really, really looking forward to this. And the thing I love about it too is because it's the next installment after Prey. I just really love the whole concept of predators. The idea that they've visited, human cultures in the past, and it's like samurai and the Vikings and the Romans and like so many different human cultures. We've had contact with them, but up until like about 20th century, it's like we don't know they're aliens, so we have to kind of interpret them through our own cultures and mythologies. So, and I really love like the spin that each culture has put on what the predators are. So I really look forward to seeing that with this. And this, I mean, we're going to see a predator fight a ninja in this. I look at that trailer. We're going to see a predator fight a freaking ninja. It's like, how can you not love this?
General populations don't watch outright animation, but when it's connected to an IP like this, I think the rules are a little bit different. If you're just talking about animation, but we're talking about a high-end animation. We're talking about animation that's attached to a globally known IP, and your trailer alone tells you that this isn't anything else. And also, when you look at the numbers for Blade Runner, the franchise that will initially struggle with making a splash with the initial audience, the numbers for Blade Runner Black Lotus were very high. That was on a Saturday night at midnight, which you can't get any harder to try to market somebody, and they were able to have success with that. So I would agree with you on certain things for it, but I think a lot of it has to do with the IP is connected to. If people feel like there's a legitimate connection to the IP that it's known for, I think that it could work. Wow, damn. This is Senior Nerd. Perp's terrible animation takes as affected Force Tiny Brain. That's him. That's Senior Nerd. I'm not. Damn. Shots fired. No. We got to remember though. You're using old antiquated ways of thinking when it comes to this. When it comes to Hulu, it's not just watching animation. It's not seeking out or being attracted. It's watching Hulu. You see what I mean? When you're on Hulu, you're watching Hulu. They branded themselves to the point where all you really need to do is line up your IP. Now, if you're doing something that's kiddie version of your IP, yeah, I can see it. But if you've demonstrated that you're lining it up with the IP is known for and what you expect from Predator, I think you'll do good enough. And plus, they can put this on Fox. They can put this on FX. Remember, we're not just talking about watching TV anymore we're talking about Fox and Hulu. That Alien show is on Fox, right? But it's going to be on streaming. It's all one world now. So I think that it's a case by case basis. But that when I'm watching that trailer, that's Predator. I instantly recognize that as Predator, and I think Predator fans are going to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that looks awesome. It's like, and I never thought I'd see Predator done, in animation, but this this has me on board. It's like,
well, what you have to do, like I've said, if you're going to go the animation route, you have to keep the tone and tenor of what you're adapting. Then otherwise you will lose people. I could see if you came up with some cookie cutter, some G-rated shit to where there's no beheadings and no impaling.
Yeah, like if it did like Predator in like the vein of like the 80s or like Rambo animated series.
Yeah, something like that. Then I could see where you would lose the audience, but I don't think you're going to lose any audience. I think you can only gain on the audience because it is consistent with what Predator fans are used to seeing.
So what would you between Predator, between this and Predator Badlands, which is, do you have one that's kind of like, for me, they're kind of neck and neck now in terms of anticipation, like which one?
This one, Kill the Killers, is much better because there's just so many more facets to it. There's much more. It looks way more violent. It looks to be not just violent, but diverse violence. It's violence in different ways from different types of people. You're talking about, you're fighting in the air. You're fighting an air war in World War II, and then you're fighting, ninjas. And you're fighting. So it's not. You're giving me different angles of the Predator. You're giving me more angles. Whereas Badlands, you're just giving me, the one, guy, which is not bad. Don't tell me. But between the two, I'm more excited for this than I am for Badlands. All right, I think that's it for us tonight. I think we covered way more. We even covered some shit I didn't even know we were going to be covering tonight. But there you go. That's what this show is. Anybody got anything else for me in this last maybe minute? Nope. Got it all off our chest. All right. So tomorrow, I don't know what the topic will be tomorrow, but we'll have one. And then Thursday is going to be Thursday, and then Friday will not be on the air on Sci-Fi Center proper. We will have a watch party this Saturday afternoon for our fundraiser. So
Awesome.
I have not decided what it's going to be, but we are behind on our fundraising. We really need to get to 20 grand sooner than later. Right now we're about 2,000, a little bit under 2,000. Right now we had a remaining goal of 3,850 at the beginning of this campaign to get to 20,000 overall. Since then we have raised $1,110, which is not a small amount, but I don't know what the math is. I still think we got over 22 or 23 to make something like that so we need to
closing in though.
We need to up the tempo so we can why are we showing what, dude? If I get taken down for
Welcome to Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
I did like that trailer. I'm looking forward to that too.
I will personally ban from the channel. Hold on. I think I saw a little bit of that.
Are we now we're going to call it getting fourth?
Yeah, which the show already gets fourth, by the way. Another fucking way. So. I need to find the actual one. That's the actual. Okay, this is the one right here. The one from HBO Max themselves. Hopefully, I won't get. I can talk my way out of getting taken down if it's the official one. All right, hold on. Between you and this Megan shit forth, I don't know what's going on with you lately. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I've seen this one. I just wonder the way you get that music. From the It trailers.
Now you just tell us where home is.
Pennywise
We'll
music.
get you back to your parents safe and sound, okay?
Anywhere but Derry.
Things that happened in the past.
My family and I just moved to town. Oh. Hey, baby.
Happened in your mind.
Today was 4 months, and they never even found a body. That means murder.
This business with the missing kids. Do I need to be concerned? Never a bad idea to keep the people you love close.
No adult's ever gonna believe what we saw. I wouldn't.
There's a history of stuff like this happening in Derry.
You kids keep your noses out of police business.
I heard voices.
In the pipes.
Have you ever heard something like that?
There's something bad here in Derry.
Oh yeah, I love this coming to HBO Max.
Yeah, they did get right on that. All right, so here's the
And
thing.
There's a
When
sequel to the It. There's a prequel to It.
Prequel. I'm gonna put Derry in my places not to go. Haddonfield, Illinois, if it existed. Camp Crystal Lake.
Wait,
I know.
Is there real dairy? Is there real dairy made?
I'm talking about for the story narrative.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Too many people keep coming back to these really awful places when they know shit. Derry has been fucked up for a century, and it's made the news. If there's a place where we don't talk about the kids that disappeared, and I got kids and I'm moving in, guess what I'm doing? I'm moving out. If there's a place where series of people have been killed for 3 or 4 summers in a row, guess where William's not going to be? Not going to happen. Guess what? Every Halloween, some crazy fool that can't die comes around killing people, randomly crushing people's skulls. Guess what day of the year I might just skip Haddonfield? I'm sorry. People just don't learn. And I'm supposed to believe in you now? I'm like, when you're going to look for a house in your neighborhood, if there's an engine hanging from the tree, I'm out. Don't want to live next to that. That's sorry. All right. If there's a meth lab at the end of the road and it's obvious, maybe we'll find another cul-de-sac. But if people are waking up missing and dead, and lots of them, if you drive past an ambulance putting in a body bag into something, you need to be going away from that, not to that. There are clues that say, nah. And it hurt to me. It's like, okay, how can I believe you? Am I supposed to believe this? And, the whole trailer is about them. Wait a minute. There's a history of this thing happening here. I'm like, well, guess what? There's a history of me leaving. Fuck that. But hey, that trailer looked intense. HBO, once again, this is why we claim HBO Max. In my lifetime, HBO has not let me down. We're talking 25, 30 years of this type of programming. That trailer is consistent with the quality that HBO continues to give us, no matter what it is. Give me a bad HBO show that hasn't done well. It's another one. Some seasons of shows are better than others. There are better seasons of Game of Thrones, but as a whole, Game of Thrones is a hit. True Detective, there's a season in there that it's not the best as the other 3 seasons, but as a whole, True Detective is an excellent show. And this last season was my favorite of all of them. I didn't think that could happen. So HBO, this trailer continues to give you an HBO, and that's why you slap that HBO tattoo back on it. I'm so happy they figured this out. Better late than never. All right, let's see. All right, are you happy, Fourth? Hey, we did that without super chat. You know what you need to do next. All right, so I'm sorry, I'm not moving to New York. If once Galactus shows up, and I may find a way. I'm looking for a way to get off the planet because he's about to eat it. So there's really no place I can go. All right, guys. I think that's it. That's really it. Oh, look who's here at the end of the
Hey, Barov.
show. No, it doesn't look like. Those smiles reminded me of Smile, though, and that movie disappointed me at the end. So yeah, don't worry about that. All right, the kids are going to Pet Cemetery, Screwdairy. Not going there either. Like I said, if there's a history of awful things happening, William is God. William's the guy that swings back, who's worried about all you guys at the end when all of you have died and that one last person is there, looking at, hey, I waited outside the danger to see if you made it. Now that you're here, let's go. I got a tank. Let's go. I got a helicopter. Let's go. No, we need to go back. No, we need to leave. You either come with me now or you die with the rest of your friends.
If you want to live.
That's it. Get in this helicopter, get in this tank. We're gone. Because I'm on the outskirts. I'm at the bar. I'm at the town. I'm at the edge of town where whatever is trying to kill you doesn't really want to come out there just for little old me. But he's chasing you because you stayed. I will be there. I will be that guy that you see at the beginning of the movies. And as everybody's going into that creepy place, I'm going to be the guy, and they're going to ask you, "Oh, William, what are you scared of?" I'm like, "Yep." And I'll be like, "What happened here last year?" Those are just rumors. No, those people are really dead. And it'll be like, "Oh, you can't be as scared of a little folk tale." I'm like, no. Folk tale is some shit that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. May or may not be true. These people died last summer. We're here this summer. I'll see you guys on that other campsite where the crazy guy isn't. And if you make it there, we can leave. But no. Yeah, Welcome to Derry looks like a lot of fun. Like I said, HBO doesn't let me down. Sinners, I love Sinners. I love Sinners.
Yeah.
I can. I don't understand how Ford didn't, but you know what? That is his prerogative to. Yeah, hey, dude, if there's a killer on the loose in this neighborhood, my ass is not coming out. The ghetto bird can do the tight circle until they found him. And when my little text thing that says that, to let you know when all that crazy shit's going on, when it says apprehended, then I'm gonna head out. But I'm not, and I'm damn sure not going to some place I don't know. I don't do the camping thing anyway. I believe mankind has evolved beyond the forest and the trees and shit. We need to stay out of the water. 100% guaranteed that you will not die of a shark attack unless it's Sharknado, is if you don't go in the water, because most sharks, all of them, will not walk on dry land to get you. So yeah, a cooler on the loose. Unless it was a Night Stalker back in the 80s, where he was the one that was in danger because he decided that he was going to steal a car in East LA. Now, I know you were the Night Stalker. I know you had the whole Southland was fearing you, and there were sketches everywhere. You stealing a car in places like Compton, LA, Inglewood, East LA, you are putting your life in danger. I don't care how dangerous you think you are. And he got the hell beat out of him. The only serial killer I know that had to be rescued by the cops from the neighborhood, the hood, was beating his ass. So other than that, no, yeah. When William doesn't do the Inland Empire, there you go. He was everywhere. Bro, the Zodiac killer was in Riverside. He marked his symbol on the, he killed that one girl, Darlene, what's her face? But yeah, in the Zodiac, listen, people stayed in. When the Zodiac was hanging out, people stayed in. They didn't go hanging out. They damn sure didn't go hanging out at Lover's Lane once he capped those two people there. Like I said, I don't do the seclusion places either. The Lover's Lane, let's go out to the lake and, and let's be intimate out on the lake. Listen, I am in Vegas. We got motels and we got hotels with security. We can go there, and we need to do it that way. And fucking around out in the woods. And there's literally a movie. Sean Burkett, by the way, he's an independent movie person. I hope to get back on the show. He literally made a movie, Don't Go Fuck in the Woods. He literally made it as a parody to all the dumb shit that people who die in these movies do. Why are you fucking in the woods? You have a cabin. You have a cabin that the killer might be like, you know what? I don't know what's in there. I'm going to go on to the easier target. Why are you doing it right there? And of course you're going to get killed in every Friday the 13th. Oh, let's do it here. Well, aren't you worried about anybody else here? That's not even the thing you need to be. You need to be worried about the killer. And by the way, in these movies, I can understand the gullibleness and this, you don't want to believe in it. You don't believe it can happen to you and all that shit. It's just folklore. Okay. Once your friends start turning up missing, you need to change your behavior. When you walk into the cabin, has anybody seen so-and-so? No, I haven't seen that person in hours. I'm starting to get worried. William is getting the fuck out of there. I'm like, head count, who's missing? We ain't supposed to be wandering out this Friday. That I'm assuming that person's dead. We need to get in this van. We need to get the hell out of here. We ain't waiting until, now so-and-so is missing. I'm like, okay, there is only 7 of us. 2 of us are missing. And they have no business missing. He's going to the shed to get a beer or some shit or use the bathroom, and he doesn't come back? Oh, no. oh no, pack up all our shit, get the car out, we're getting the hell out of here. That never happens in those movies because then it wouldn't be fun. So all right, it's on video. It's on video. I'm gonna try. He made a sequel, by the way. He made a sequel. Don't Go Fuck in the Woods 2, which means guess what? People didn't listen to the first movie. So there you go. Yeah, secluded locations is where you lose me. Secluded locations means where you can bury me and nobody will find me for a while. That's what the secluded location means. I'm gonna go watch Spinners at the hub. What the fuck? All right, guys. I will find you that link, Aaron, because I want to get a hold of Sean and see if we can actually do his movies. Yeah, they're on Tubi. They're on Tubi, and they're absolutely hilarious. They're absolutely hilarious.
I'll give a look.
All right, guys, that's it. We will see you the next time we see you. I'm gonna go eat, and I think I'll take a half a Benadryl because I got to get up early. But man, I can't wait till the weekend where I can take my good stuff. But right now, I got to supper with these. This is too much pollen in the air. I did the little app. I downloaded the app, and it said I asked it, hey, how much pollen was in the air, and it's like a skull popped up with all this pollen falling. I'm like, okay, that's cool graphics. All right, guys, we happy Thursday now. Oh no, what is it? No, it's Wednesday. I'm sorry. Happy Wednesday
and happy 5th anniversary to the historic announcement of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
R.I.P. Norm. I really, really, really wanted to open up the show with the Cheers theme song, but I know damn well I will get taken down. I wish we didn't have rules like that when it comes, because I think tonight we really needed that song. That song, if you've never seen Cheers, in fact, this is what we're going to do as the last thing going out. We are going to put it in. I want you guys to play the full song, not just the one that's on the the jingle that opens up the show. It's a full song. It's a full couple of minutes. Yeah, here we go. And you really, my appreciation for what this song means resonates with me long. It's been 32 years since the show goes up. Everybody can relate to this song. Everybody can relate to this. Everybody wants to be somewhere where everybody knows your name. Whether it's a screen on YouTube, whether it's a convention, whether it's your favorite bar, you want to, like the song says, you want to be with people who know where troubles are all the same. You want to be with everybody knows your name. Like I said when I was reviewing Thunderbolts the other night, there's a scene in Thunderbolts where Bob is fighting the Void. And it wasn't superhuman powers that defeated it. It wasn't anything else like that. What it was is the Void was telling him, you're alone. It's always going to just be you and me. And when Yelena goes and puts her arms around him and tells him, no, that's not true, we're here. And then the rest of them do it. The most powerful thing in that movie, and that movie has a lot of powerful stuff going on. The biggest weapon that they had against the biggest enemy they were going to fight in that movie was the knowledge for Bob that he wasn't alone. And that's what I think this Cheers song means. And I think that's what that movie was trying to push, is the biggest tool, the biggest asset you can give to somebody who's going through anything is the knowledge that they're not going through it alone. And that the Cheers sign, the Cheers song, and a lot of that stuff, it goes inconsistent. So I put it into the thing. Hopefully here it goes right there. There it is. I really wish I could have opened up the show with it. I really wish that the copyright things weren't as bad, but I know damn well I will get an email. We've been taken down, and there. Oh no, I love the thing. Certain territories, you've been blocked in certain territories. Oh, which ones? America. Okay, I think I have to change that. So yeah. All right, guys, have a good night. And no matter what it is you're doing today, try to have fun doing it.
Sure. See you guys.